I like the Save Ferris T-shirt. You're welcome. Yeah, that's a throwback right there. Me? No way. I've watched Ferris. I mean, maybe, and I guess, but I used to watch that movie all the time growing up. Phenomenal. Yeah.
For offense, I mean, first half, you guys came out with a lot of success in the pass game. I know Josh, after the game, he said that they adjusted, obviously, in the second half. But on your end, what could have you guys have done better just as offense in terms of keeping that pass game going?
I think every series you go out there and try and have a series of plays and just try to execute the job as best as your ability. So, whether it's scheme or whether it's execution, I think everything could have been a little bit better on Sunday in terms of the second half and just stringing positive plays together. So, execution on a consistent basis is something that we're going to have to continue to strive on and practice at and work on that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and get better and do a better job on that Sunday.
Stemming from that, I mean, you guys have had flashes as offense where you
Yeah.
try to execute and good things happen. What do you think has kept you off from kind of sustaining that over entire games and weeks, successive weeks?
You know, it, as an offense, it takes 11 guys to do their job and do their job well. And so I think just from a consistency standpoint, each guy doing their job well consistently is what we're going to try and do. And I can't really pinpoint any specific example, but we just got to do a better job of stringing positive plays together consistently.
I guess there's a lot of talk about maybe going away from the passing game or that sort of thing. But looking back, I think you had 5 offensive plays from late second quarter to early fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You just didn't really have that many opportunities. I guess how difficult is it to find a rhythm when you just don't have the ball?
Yeah, people talk about rhythm. I think as an offense, it's our job to go out there and score points every time we get the ball. So regardless of when we have it, how long we have it, we got to go out there and string positive plays together and score points. So we should do better. We got to do a better job of that in the second half to continue to score points and to take a lead and expand on the lead, because we just can't expect to go out there and play 30 minutes of football. We got to play 60 minutes of football. So if we had the ball 9 times, 10 times in the game, whenever those times come, we got the scoring. We're going to try and score in all 9 or 10, and that's the goal for us as an offense.
Mick, there's been times this year this offense has looked amazing like people thought it would, then times it just completely disappears almost. I understand how much the other team has the ball plays into that. But what does your offense have to do to finally put together 60 minutes of good football?
Again, I think it goes back to all 11 guys being connected and executing their job to the best of their ability. And that's pretty much it. I think it starts with practice. I say it every week with you guys, consistently practicing well Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to get the confidence to play well on Sunday. And, I feel like we've done a better job of that as the year has gone on. We're growing. It's a long season. Our best football is ahead of us. I firmly believe that. And so, again, this Sunday is a great opportunity against a good Colts team to go out there and try and execute on a number of series and possessions to try and play a full, complete game of 60 minutes.
The Colts obviously have a coaching change and a lot of moving parts, but their defensive coordinator is the same, and
Yeah.
it's pretty much going to be what they've been this season on that side of the ball. What have you seen from them, and what's going to be challenging?
Yeah, Coach Bradley, obviously in his time here, you guys know him pretty well. He's really good football coach, experienced coach. Every stop he's been at, his defense plays extremely hard. They stay fast and they get to the football. Obviously they have disruptive players in DeForest Buckner, who's arguably one of the best defensive linemen in the game. And then you have players in the back end. Steph Gilmore is playing at a high level, and obviously he plays very, very, very confident football for them. And just 3 players at all levels. Linebackers play fast. The defensive linemen get up the field, and they play sound in their coverage. They don't do a lot of things, but they are all connected, and they all play 11 connected because they play fast and they get to the football. And I think you guys saw that on Sunday in the performance against New England.
Let's talk about DeForest Buckner. He's a guy that you just said he's an all-pro player. How much of, I guess I would say this as a pocket pusher, how much of a presence does that bring and put a challenge on you as when it comes to the offensive line?
Yeah, I think anytime you face an interior defensive lineman, you look at his skill set in terms of strengths and weaknesses. And DeForest, Defo, as they call him, has a lot of strengths. He has size, he's got quickness, he's got strength, he can power, he can speed. So it'll be a really good challenge for us this week on the inside in terms of, anchoring and pass protection, following our fundamentals, and making sure that we get off the ball and do a good job on him because he can play the run too. He's just not a pass rusher. So in terms of complete 3 techniques in the game, he's up there at high level, and you have to do your job on a run game, pass game to handle him, because if you don't, then he's going to make you pay because he's a very good player.
Coach, when you look at how the season has gone, despite the record, this offense obviously has a lot of talent. Kind of, I guess, glass half empty, glass half full. How frustrated do you get with the results, but also how encouraged do you get knowing you have a lot of talent moving forward?
Yeah, I think as a coach and as a player, we just try and stay middle of the line and focus on the next day and focus on the next practice and next game. We can sit back and look at the previous games and learn from them and say, how can we get better and how can we improve? And then when we come into practice on Wednesday, we're going to have a plan. We're going to give them the best plan we can as a coaching staff to go execute. And they're going to go out there and try and execute to the best of their ability and try and get better Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and take it each game at a time, each practice at a time. Because if we just do that, I feel like we'll always improve and we'll continue to improve.
Mick, you got a third rounder in Dylan, seventh rounder in Thayer.
Yeah.
Can you talk about their progression? Nobody played well against the Saints, but it seems like they're getting better every game.
Yeah, I think as the season goes on, as a coach, you look to get every player to get better. Every player to improve, whether his name's Derek Carr, or Devontae Adams, or Thayer Munford. So that's the goal for us in terms of stacking the days together in terms of execution, not only on assignment but execution in terms of fundamentals. So I think I spoke to before. Coach Karma and Coach Cam have done a good job with those two guys in terms of getting them ready to play from an X's and O standpoint, but also from a fundamental standpoint. And then obviously you've seen them play some good football. And then obviously, just like any player, they've had some good plays and bad plays. So they learn from the bad plays and try and improve on the good ones.
Talk about wanting to see guys get better. It did seem like the offensive line was finding that groove. The running game was working so well. Is it concerning? Maybe the last 2 weeks there was I don't know if it's a step back, if you would characterize it as, or the fact that it hasn't been the same the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think each week's a new week. And obviously we've had our issues against New Orleans, and then couldn't really get the run game going too much in Jacksonville. And again, our goal this week will be to try and play a balanced game of football and try and get the ball downhill and do our best to get positive plays, whether it's run game or pass game. So if our goal is to go out there and run it 50 times because we feel like we can do that, then we'll do that. If we feel like we can throw it 50 times, then we'll do that. But we want to try positive plays and score points and trying to, on all positions, we get the football. So whatever the goal is this week and what the game plan is this week, we'll execute it to our best ability.
Obviously, with Devontae, he's seen a lot of coverages this season. However, he's still been able to have a lot of success. Kind of knowing what you know about Devontae, but also knowing what you know about Stephon Gilmore. How excited are you for that chess match between the two?
Yeah. It's funny. Steph and I go back. I coached receivers in New England when he was the corner there. And obviously, Steph's a very experienced player, very smart player, very knowledgeable player. He does a really good job being a student of the game. He studies, watches a lot of film. And, I used to pick his brain all the time about DB play and, how to attack DBs. And he was always very open and helpful for that. So I know how smart a player he is. Devontae, obviously, is a very smart receiver. So, look, I don't know how much they'll be lined up against each other. I assume quite a bit, but, we'll see how it goes out there. Obviously, Devontae's going to focus on his job and his role, and so is Steph. So, obviously, we know we're going to get the best from Steph, and we're going to give Steph our best.
Obviously years of tape on Gus's defense, and you guys have prepared for it before, but how much do you kind of talk to the defensive players that you were last year just to get maybe some insight into what they want to do, even like adjustments at the line of scrimmage, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think as a coaching staff, obviously you can ask some of those things, but you really just focus on the tape. You let the tape tell the story for yourself, and we early in the season, obviously it's a little more difficult for new staffs to go in there and see what the tape's showing, but now you get into week 9, week 10 of the season, and they have 9, 10 games of each team, and you can really see kind of the trend and type of stuff. So really, you let the tape tell the story and focus really on that in terms of the adjustments, because you can pretty much watch, the whole season if you need to find out, okay, they're going to adjust to this way or play the certain scheme this way. And obviously they're going to have a specific game plan for us this week, so that could change. And whatever they did last year was last year. So, we'll let the tape tell the story.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, guys. Awesome.
Simplifying things, basically.
Yeah.
But I would think that there's a fine line between simplifying things and making things also easier for opposing offense. So is there a fine line that you deal with when you're...
Absolutely. There's always a fine line of, whether you want to make it, you don't want to make it too complicated where guys are out there thinking too much, and you don't want to make it too simple because this league is tough. You see teams, they adjust during the game, adjust from week to week. So you definitely got to, make sure that you're changing it up, or you got to find the balance between the two. But that's definitely something that goes into every game plan each week, whether it's us or somebody else. But you can see all the other teams. But you know, I think Josh talked about it earlier in this process. Just this game is about adjustments, you know, so that's a big part of it. So.
I know when you're installing a new defense with a new group of guys, that can be difficult because you want to go as far into that playbook as you can, as you know that you're capable of doing it. Are you there yet? And do you feel like you're able to get to push it that far with this particular?
I think, you know, the playbook changes from year to year. I mean, I think that's a big thing for me. This is my 4th year, I think, coordinating. You know, the playbooks really change from year to year. So, you know, I'm not like in terms of having like 30 years of doing it and have my set playbook like here, throw it at people. This is what we're doing. You know, so it changes from, you know, year to year, and then I think it just grows as as the season progresses. So, you know, again, it's November right now. Are we where we want to be in terms of all the installation? Not necessarily, but like again, you know, you just got to make sure you have enough to be able to, you know, to compete on Sunday and, you know, take advantage of some of the weaknesses of the offense. So, I mean, it's always growing, I think. You know, there's always, I think about it like this, less creation and more evolution in terms of the playbook.
Yeah, the coach just announced they're making Parks Frazier their play caller. These guys that's never called plays on any level. How do you prepare for that in terms?
You know, I think you got to look at what they've done so far this year and what they've been successful with. And, you know, as we've talked about before, in this league, it's about the people. So I'm sure, you know, he's been there for, you know, I can't remember the exact amount of years he's been there, but in terms of he knows the people and he's going to know who he's going to try to get the ball to. So I think it starts there. And then schematically, you can't expect it to change totally over one week. So you got to prepare for the people. I'm sure he's been put in that position because he's earned it. You know, however, you know, they evaluate it, he's earned it. So I'm sure he'll be prepared, and, you know, we just got to be ready to adjust on Sunday.
Patrick, this 15 times teams have had goal to go against your defense and scored touchdowns all 15. Every game, 20 or more points.
Yeah.
8 games in now, heading into 9. I understand you stick with the process, but how do you fix it? Because it's nearly half a season and it doesn't seem to be improving. What do you do? Do you try new things? What does a Patrick Graham coordinator do?
Well, I think it starts with, you know, one, we talk about in the red area, we don't want them to run the ball in. So, we got to make sure we're preventing that. You know, we got to prevent the running the ball in. And so, you know, that's one thing. And then in terms of, you know, just as we move forward, that's what a big part of today is going to be. You know, like, again, just got to there's a lot of stuff we got to fix in terms of just getting better, you know, at this point in the season. And that would be whether the record was 6-2 or 2-6. There's things to work on. And what we're going to do is just work hard to really try to figure out what to do best. And, you know, again, you know, just got to keep going through that process right now and just trying to figure out, do we got to do something differently down there because it hasn't worked so far, but we'll work through that, and it starts today.
Coach, obviously the secondary has been a little banged up and you're kind of going through pieces, but a couple of consistent players have been Rock Ya-Sin and Meek. When you look at what they've been able to do this season, what have you been pleased with from both of those guys?
I think the one thing that stands out with Rock, the improvement in terms of football position, you know, that's one of the things I talk to him about all the time in terms of being able to get in and out of breaks. He's really worked hard at that. You know, I think that's something that, you know, the more consistent you are with your football position, especially at the defensive back position, it leads to positive plays right there. You know, being competitive on balls, you know, getting a chance to for turnover opportunities. That's a big part there. And then Meek, I just think his competitiveness always shows up. And, you know, again, he's one of the guys that's gotten his hands on a few balls here, you know, whether it's interception or the fumble recovery. And you knew that from college when I evaluated him coming out of college when I was at the Giants. He's a ball hawk. So, I mean, that, you know, you're seeing that stuff show up. And then what we're trying to work on now is just for it to show up more consistently, you know, just, and that's what everybody's working towards right now at this point in the season.
Also, Divine Diablo was huge, but I thought Blake Martinez still did admirably. Can you talk about his game and what he brings in your program as far as fit?
I think Blake, well, I know Blake is an experienced linebacker in this league. You know, over his years, he's done a good job of tackling the ball carrier, getting people down. So those are positives right there. And then the leadership in terms of just being able to be vocal. And what I mean by leadership doesn't necessarily mean you're the captain or you got to be vocal. It's just in terms of being out there on the field. He's seen a lot, being able to communicate. That's a big part of leadership. And then leading by example. And he's a guy that, you know, he's in early, works hard, he's working at his craft. You know, and he's continuing that process here. I'm pleased with that.
And when you have personnel issues, whether it's due to injury or guys just underperforming, what goes into trying to work around that as a coach? How much can you do as a coach if you do have some personnel issues?
You always got to anticipate that in this league. You know, it's a contact sport, and I mean, nobody. Again, it always starts with this. Nobody's going to feel sorry for us, just like we wouldn't feel sorry for the other team. So what we do is we try to teach the next man up mentality, and I think really what happens in our program, our young coaches, Matt Feeney, Matt Edwards, they do a lot of extra time with those young guys and making sure that they're going to be prepared when they get in there. And that's a big part of what we do with our program. Similar to most teams in the NFL, you let your young coaches, that's where they get a chance to really coach. Those guys get a chance to talk to those guys one-on-one because, some young guys might be hesitant to come talk to the coordinator, position coach. So it really starts with the growth there. And, Josh has done a good job of hiring good young coaches and encouraging those guys to coach.
Coach, we talk about play calling on offense a lot when a team is where they are on the scoreboard. They're behind, they'll throw a lot more, they're ahead, they try to run the ball maybe, but defensively, does play calling mindset kind of change depending on the score?
It depends on the game, and it depends on what part of the game in terms of the score. I'm assuming fourth quarter would be way different than maybe the second quarter. So it's all the situation of the game, how it plays into it, and then what you're dealing with offensively, who you're going against. But again, aggressive mindset. Just trying to dictate as much as possible, but it's all based on the situation.
You guys have had a couple games this year where you get off to good starts defensively, and over the rest of the game, teams manage to start finding some success. Or do you think it's teams figuring out?
Sorry, I can't hear the last part.
Say teams kind of over the course of games, they end up figuring out ways to find success. What do you think is kind of the cause of that? Is it them adjusting? Is it something on your end? What do you think kind of leads to that trend?
Again, it always starts in terms of a lot of stuff to work on right now, including myself, just in terms of just being better. I think the teams adjust in this league. Really good coaches in this league, really good players. They adjust, and then we got to counter punch that and just adjust back with it. But a lot of times it comes down to those adjustments within the game, and unfortunately, they got the upper hand this past week. But again, we're going to keep working at it right now, and that's what we're doing.
Coach, you guys just signed Sidney Jones, a guy who has high football IQ and also good ball skills. Can you talk about what he brings to the table as far as coming into your program?
I think you nailed it. You helped me answer the question right there. So good football IQ, ball skills. I think the thing, experience as well. He's a very savvy player, so we're really encouraged. I got a chance to meet with him yesterday. That was really encouraging, and we're just real excited for him to be here.
All set?
All right. Thank you. All right. Thanks.